The CW Twin Cities presents See What's Now, your entertainment news source.
Hey everybody, John Foss, CW Twin Cities, and I am very excited to talk with Jeannette Walls, who is the author of The Glass Castle, which is being made into a film and will be in theaters on August 11th. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So first of all, we are at the Library Lounge at Mercy Bar and Dining Room. Isn't this like the best
This is pretty great.
setup ever?
Yeah, it really
it's
is.
great.
Very elegant.
So tell the viewers at home what this film is about for people that might not have heard of it yet.
It's about my family, and I had one of those families that people point at and say, why don't those parents take care of those kids? We were shabby, we were rough, we slept in cars, sometimes we'd get a house and would run without paying the rent. But through all that chaos, Dad said that one of these days we would have a nice place to live. One of these days he was going to build us a fabulous glass mansion out in the desert, and he called it the Glass Castle.
And I guess, and it's based on a true story.
Yes.
I guess one of the first questions for me, and I think a lot of viewers, when you see based on a true story at the beginning of the film, how much of the film is actually true?
The film is astonishingly accurate. You know, I wrote the book 12 years ago, rather it was published 12 years ago, and I was really, a lot of filmmakers looked at it and wanted to change it and Hollywoodize it. And Destin Daniel Cretton, who's not only the director, but one of the co-writers of it, he was passionate about authenticity. He collapsed a few scenes, he telescoped them, and there's a couple of characters that he developed a little and expanded on, but that was always done in concert with me. He talked to me at great length about, well, what really happened here? We can discuss this a little bit more. Did anything like this happen? Can you describe, a couple of episodes like this? So I was elated about how close it was to true life.
Well, I think I mentioned this before we started talking on camera, but I thought it was an amazing film.
Thank you.
And like for me as a father, I could totally relate to the father-daughter relationship. So that was great, and I think there's a lot of different people in the story that other people can relate to too. And I just felt like it came off very true to life and just showed the bad things that happen in life, but also good things come out of those. Tell me what you think about the final product.
Well, that is music to my ears, because my wildest dream for the movie is that it makes people think not necessarily about my family, but about their own.
Yeah.
Even if my family is crazier than theirs, they might notice some similarities, or their family might be crazier than mine. But I love what you said about that it captured the good and the bad, because I think that was one of the challenges, certainly it was for me writing the book, that my father was a damaged man. There was much wrong with him. He could be very destructive, but he also could be spectacular and gave me incredible gifts. And how can you have these two almost opposites in the same person, but that's life. And if a filmmaker can capture that, I find that to be a very satisfying experience.
So one thing you mentioned yesterday after the film in the Q&A is that the producer, is it the same as The Life of Pi?
Yeah, he directed Life of Pi and Blindside, and that's one of the reasons I knew he would get this film made. So many producers tried to and just didn't know what to do with my mess of a life, and he was just passionate about. He wouldn't take no for an answer, and went out and hired this amazing director, Destin Daniel Cretton, who then went out and hired Brie Larson, who it just doesn't get any better than that. They had worked together on another movie called Short Term 12. After Destin had worked in a foster care system, he came out saying, there are no simple answers. And that's one of the ways that I knew that he was going to be the right person for this film. And they had worked together and really understood each other, but Brie Larson was phenomenal about getting it right. We spent time together, she observed me, picked up on things that I don't realize that I do, understood my voice, because I got a tin ear, and she heard me saying things in a way that I didn't hear. And she said at one point, I don't want to do anything that's going to invade your privacy or offend you. I said, honey, invade away. You know, this is all about getting at the truth. And I thought she was fearless, but also astonishingly compassionate.
Yeah, I thought the line that kind of hit home the message of what I took home with the good and the bad of life and people was when your brother said he had his moments.
Yeah.
Because up to that, we saw a lot of the bad things he did. But after he said that, it cut to a lot of things that we hadn't seen in the story yet, like when you went to college and you were having financial issues and he came there and helped pay for that.
Exactly. And for all that he didn't do, he gave me a love of life, a high sense of self-esteem, a love of education, which I think is just so important. It's the great equalizer. But he also gave me the very important lesson of demon hunting. And it's very central to the movie. One time I thought there was a demon under my bed. So he went out to go get it. And it became this sort of game for us, chasing the demons. And for a long time, it took me a long time to understand that I was running from my demon. the thing is, if you run from a demon, it will chase you. And my demon was myself. It was my own past. And Dad gave me the tools and the courage to turn around and confront that. And he was absolutely right. You run from your demon, it will chase you. But if you can confront it, it can't hurt you. And what you got to do is either make friends with your demon or put it to work for you.
Yep. That's cool. And Woody Harrelson, as you mentioned, played your dad.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, it was great. Like, I mean, just the emotions that you're feeling watching the film in the audience.
Yeah, you get this emotional whiplash because he's so good and then he's so bad, but you can't help but love him. And I think it's so great that they got Woody Harrelson because he's got that irresistible character. That, you know, you just gotta like Woody Harrelson the same way that you had to like my dad. But beyond that, he got Dad in a way that was almost spooky. Just, you know, he was saying things when they went off script. He was saying things that my father had said that I hadn't told him. And I asked him afterwards, how did you do that? How did you know that? And he studied a tape of my father and had conversations with me about Dad. But he said then he stopped studying the tape because he didn't want to impersonate somebody. He wanted to become that person. And I thought he did.
And he had the nickname for your character, Mountain Goat?
Mountain Goat. That's what Dad called me. Because I just love to climb and I had good balance. And it was Dad's way of reminding me that I could climb and I would not lose my balance.
Cool. And one of the moments that's a really touching moment and just again kind of showed the good side of him was at Christmas when he took you guys outside and let you guys.
He gave us a star.
Claim a star.
He gave us whatever star we wanted. Now here's the funny thing about life is that is my fondest memory in my entire childhood. I didn't choose a star. I chose a planet. Dad said, what the heck, it's Christmas.
Venus, right?
I chose Venus. He said, what the heck, it's Christmas. You want a planet, you can have a planet. It's my fondest memory ever. It is my fondest gift to this day.
Did you name it?
No, it's Venus. I didn't have to name it. It's got the perfect name.
Your sister named hers Beetlejuice, right?
Yeah. Well, and so Dad gave us this star for Christmas, and to this day, when I see Venus up in the sky, I think, that's mine. I own that. And I love that story so much, I told it at my father's funeral. And after I finished, Lori folds her arms and said, isn't that like that sorry SOB dad of ours to give away something that doesn't belong to him? And I thought about that comment a whole lot while I was trying to write the book because Lori's right. It was a meaningless gesture, but I'm right too. It was a priceless treasure.
Absolutely.
And so even though it's nonfiction, we shape our truths by which stories we tell and how we choose to tell them. And I think that is true with the movie as well. You know, they could have made Dad and Mom seem horrible, or they could have made them seem almost saintly. How do we tell our truths? How do we tell our own stories? And it is a choice to focus on the good.
And I think the film did, again, do a great job of showing both of those sides because your father, he was an alcoholic.
Yes.
Tell me about growing up with that as
it was,
part of
it was heartbreaking. Yeah, it was heartbreaking. Anybody who's ever loved an addict knows that they will just break your heart and you get your hopes up and then they break your heart again. And I tried to fix my father. And I thought that they captured one of those scenes brilliantly in the movie. I don't want to give it too much away, but little Ella Anderson, while she's trying to fix her dad, and she plays the middle Jeannette. It ripped my heart out watching this little kid trying to help her alcoholic dad. And he just couldn't, for all of my father's talk about chasing demons, his demons won. But the number of people who've come to me after this film and said, my father was an alcoholic too. Thank you for addressing it. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of us out there who are wrestling with somebody in this situation, who are in this situation themselves. Right. And what I hope that this film will do is help people confront their own demons.
After, when you guys got older, you guys went to school. How often did your family, were you guys still a tight-knit family when everybody went off to school? Did you guys get together? How often did you see each other?
When we all moved to New York together, first my older sister, then me, then my kid brother, then we sent for my kid sister. And we lived together for a while, okay. and then we just sort of tried to make things work. And I went off to school, but then in 1980, my parents followed us up to New York.
Were you guys happy about that?
I was really unhappy. I wanted for once in my life to just be known for who and what I was. I didn't want to be the daughter of the crazy drunk man or the crazy artist. And, Dad moved to New York City, became the town drunk, which is quite the accomplishment. And I literally told him on a couple of occasions, please don't tell anybody related to me. At this time I was going on television. My career had kind of taken off, and I wanted be the woman without a past, but the past has a funny way of catching up with you.
At one point, you see him in a taxi cab.
I did.
Did that actually happen in real life?
It happened in real life. I was going to a fabulous party, and I looked out the window, and there's Mom rooting through the garbage, and I actually ducked in the taxi and asked the driver to take me home, and I got together with my mom a couple of days later, and I said, Ma, what the heck am I supposed to tell people about you? And she said, tell them the truth. And I don't know if she was challenging me or giving me permission, but it was the best advice anybody's ever given me. But then I had to figure out, what is the truth? Yeah. Was it a tragedy or a comedy or a triumph? And it's kind of all of the above.
Exactly, and that's what the film hit, so did a great job. So what is your family doing now?
My older sister's an artist living in Manhattan. My brother was a cop for many years. He retired. He now works for Habitat for Humanity. My kid sister was the one who didn't fare so well, but she's living in a clean, safe place on the West Coast, and we're in constant contact, so I'm grateful for that. My mother's abandoned building, where she'd been squatting for 15 years without heat or running water, it caught on fire about 10 years ago, and she was homeless again. I've left New York City. I live in Virginia. I said, Ma, this is crazy. Come live with me in Virginia. She said, you live in the sticks. You live in the middle of nowhere. Why would I want to live with you? I said, because you won't have to sleep on a park bench, Mom. And she said, you know, I'm not a moocher. I'm not a charity case. And I said, I'm thinking of getting horses, and I could really use your help. She said, I'll be right there. Cool. So Mom has been living not with me because I'm not a saint, but I built a place out back for her. And she actually cooperated with the movie. That is her artwork you see in the movie. Yeah. At first, she didn't really want to cooperate. I think she thought that they were going to make fun of her. And she kept on calling my sister Lori, you know. They were discussing the progress of the movie, and she found out that Naomi Watts was going to be playing her, so she calls up. She didn't know who Naomi Watts is. She calls up, who is this Naomi Watts character anyway?
That's great.
And my sister Lori says, she's very beautiful and very talented. Suddenly, Mom's on
Yeah,
board.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, we'll let it slide.
I'm on.
Right. Let's do the movie. Let's do the movie.
There you go.
Great. At the end of the film, you say something that to the viewers at that point might come off very shocking. After your father passes, you say that you're lucky. You feel lucky.
Oh.
Do you still feel that way? And I mean, just through all the stuff you guys went through, tell me about that.
I am the luckiest person in the world. I can't believe where I'm sitting right now talking to you. I think that I was given such astonishing gifts. But I will never take my life for granted. Every time I turn on the shower, I can't believe that there's warm running water. I can go to a grocery store and buy anything I want. But even once I'd accomplished these things, something was missing. Having told my story, because I thought I was protecting myself by not telling anybody, but I was just isolating myself. And now I thought I'd come clean and that everybody would hold me in contempt and ridicule. And people embraced this story. I so underestimated people. Life is beautiful, filled with amazing people. You just got to learn to trust them.
So you were a gossip writer, correct?
I was.
Okay.
Yes, I was on MSNBC talking about celebrities and their secrets. And the hypocrisy did not escape me. The fact that I'm chasing other people's stories while I was hiding my own.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think of that. How did you go from having the lifestyle that you had growing up to being a gossip columnist?
I wanted to be a reporter. I wanted to write about important stories and about poverty and things like that. And I was hired at New York Magazine while I was still in school. I'm basically head pencil sharpener. You know, I was the one who went and got coffee. And they hired me after college. And I tried to write a couple of columns for them about the poor, and they said, these are really boring. They put me on this column about movers and shakers that everybody hated doing because you got yelled at and insulted and people threatened to beat you up. And that's the way I grew up. I'm fine. Like, hey, I was a rabbit in a briar patch, you know? Exactly. So I loved it. And it was, in no time, people were sending cars to pick me up. And it was just like, wow, this is amazing. And I worked there for a while. And then they put me on, I went on air online at MSNBC. And I tried to do a couple of mover shaker items. It didn't work so well. And I did some celebrity items, and they got millions of hits. So the die was cast, and I was working the red carpet, interviewing people like Tom Cruise and Julia Roberts. And it was kind of bizarre to me. And I thought I would keep the day job after the book came out if I didn't get fired. At first I thought I'd get fired, but like I said, people are just smarter and accepted it.
So you were still working when you
I was still working when the book came out. And then a funny thing happened on the red carpet. A very famous woman asked me to turn off the microphone. And, you know, I'd asked her who designed her outfit, and she told me, and she asked me to turn off the mic, and she said, I've just read your memoir, and I want to thank you for writing about alcoholism in such a candid way. It really helped me come to terms with my father's alcoholism. And I thought, dang it, I'll never be able to write anything mean about that person again. So I didn't get fired, but I got defanged. You know, I believe the truth will set you free, but what was I doing chasing other people's stories? And I didn't want to do it anymore. But I don't have any other talent in the world. I was looking into dog walking. I don't know what I could do. And I did not expect this book to hit, but I still quit. I just didn't want to do it anymore. And the book just kept selling, much to my shock. I didn't think people would read it, but they have, and they've understood it, sometimes better than I do. And it got optioned for a movie way on, and so I thought, well, maybe that'll take it somewhere. But then I came to terms with the notion it wasn't going to get made into a movie, and here we are. It worked out.
So did you always know that you were going to write the movie, or when did you decide to write the movie?
I didn't want to write the movie. I'm not a screenwriter. I'm not a script writer. I consulted with them on a regular basis, but this is not what I do. They were so smart. The guy who ended up directing it was the screenwriter, and he understands movies much better than I do. So I kind of deferred to him. Once I trusted him, I just said, here's the big mess of my life. You take it and turn it into a movie. And he talked to me every step of the way about which scene he was thinking of including, why he decided to delete a certain scene, and I was just in awe of him. He taught me a lot about storytelling, and took certain liberties with the book, but nothing that bothered me at all, because he explained to me, I need to set this in this town instead of this one, and here's why. And you're right, go ahead and do it. Okay. So after having spent the time on the set, I kind of wanted to work in the movies just because it was kind of magical, and everybody was working together so beautifully. It was like a Swiss clock with all these moving parts. It was also like 10-layer chess game with all this stuff going on. And everybody said, most movies aren't this wonderful. There was just no tension. Yeah. Everybody, you know, the camera guys were crying during the shooting of it. And people said, this doesn't usually happen.
Wow, that's awesome. Sounds like an amazing experience.
It was.
One last question.
Yes.
Will you build the glass castle?
I think I already have. I think the glass castle was never about the house. I think it was about the hopes and the dreams. That being said, many people have sent me their plans, what they would conceive of. The plans have been long since lost, but students have been designing what they think the glass castle would look like, and I think I actually might go ahead and break ground on it.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
I do.
Wow,
I do.
that's amazing.
Life's good.
Well, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Love the movie.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you
Thank
talking
you.
with us.
Thank you. It's been my joy.
The Glass Castle is in theaters August 11th.